I chose this Whisper's Demand for the rising of the aura of intuition. And it really is about raising the energy, raising the consciousness within us, raising into that redeeming light. And Yogananda talks about a light, but he also talks about how a light of consciousness is what we're really looking for, this higher way of seeing, that the only consciousness is the light of God. So this is demand for the rising of the aurora of intuition. Infinite Spirit, thy presence is hidden equally behind the warm rays of sun and the cool night of the moon. Those lights, though welcome and wonderful, reveal only Mother Nature's splending in matter. They reveal not thee. To me, they are therefore darkness. Thy all-revealing, majestic, and supreme light shines not on, but from within. The center of everything, therefore, creating no shadows. Shadows in this world reduce light itself to non-light. In theory, I've known this, but now, Lord, take all darkness away from me. Wherever I sit with eyes shut, enclosed in my own darkness, cause to blaze upon me in glory the aurora of intuition, that suffused in its light, I may gaze raptly on thee with worshiping eyes, calling in the light of consciousness. So God is talking to one of his angels. Do you know what I've just done? I've just created a 24-hour period of alternating light and dark. This light and darkness on earth, isn't that good? And the angel says, yeah, but what will you do now? God says, I think I'll call it a day. So, this redeeming light, in the reading it says, the people have walked in the darkness and they've seen a great light. And that's each one of us, isn't it? Each one of us have fell down. Each one of us have struggled. Each one of us have broken hearts. Each one of us have looked to the light and not been able to find it, and yet it's always been there. You know, every time we read the Festival of Light, it always reminds me that it's our story. It's our story. We're all that fledgling bird. We're all that bird that gets stuck in the darkness, has nowhere to go, and then feels like, oh, I can do this, right? And then it turns into rebellion and selfishness. And it has to go through a time of acceptance to find its way into that redeeming light, into that redemption. And every time we have a situation in our life, a time of that we feel like we're in darkness, we feel in despair, we feel that our karma is coming at us and we don't feel like we can stand. We feel like it's going to take us down. You know, that redeeming light is there. And the process that we have through self-realization, that the great masters have led the way for us, each one of us individually in our life process. We're all in this spiritual progress from the lostness to the foundness of the redeeming light. You know, every time I prepare for Sunday service, you know, I just say to myself, I don't think I can do this. You know, I feel like I'm just in the dark. How do I talk about this redeeming light? I don't feel it. You know, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. How am I going to stand up and tell you about this redeeming light, you know? And something happens. We have to go through the resistance, the fear, the integration process, the knowing, the surrender. We bring the practices, the meditation, the light of our awareness into it. And ultimately what happens is that channel that we open through our meditation practice, that channel of intuition. We open up the energy centers, for that light to move through us, that we can reach that spiritual potential. You know, Babaji said, darkness has its necessary place. Since creation depends on both light and dark for its very existence. But although I cannot stop the darkness, it is my job to increase the light. How do we do that? Each one of us can ask that question when we're stuck in a problem. How can we draw on the masters, draw on the teachers, maybe pick up one of the books, or listen to some chants, or practice japa, sit down in a deep meditation and really be with this, you know, to open up into the darkness, to not be afraid of it, to not resist it like the bird did, but surrender into my hands, cried the wind, you know, and to open up that this redeeming light is there. But it takes a lot of courage. It takes courage, and that's an important quality on the spiritual path. But this festival light, it is our story, and every time we listen to it, it tells the story of the masters and how they decided from our call to come to us, that we've needed them so much to help us move out of this process of lost to found, of light to dark, and that we are born into this world of duality. You know, this universe is founded on the principle of duality. Everything has light and dark, right? Male and female, hot and cold, as we're in this world. And everything in existence is balanced and it's opposite, and they exist together because in absolute perfection, they cancel each other out. So we need them both, right? We need the villain in the story to feel the victory, right? We need that process until we don't anymore, until we're able to rise above it and hold ourselves in the conscious, the super conscious light of God. And so we bring the light of our inner awareness and we stop seeking outward. That's the key. That's the key. We have to understand that this is an inner job, and to cancel out delusion and darkness, we have to let go of these likes and dislikes, right? I like that it's sunny and I don't like that it's getting cloudy out right now, you know? And yet, when we get into that quality of acceptance, right? That's what the fledgling bird, it accepted, it surrendered into the wind, into the light. And I remember, you know, I was with a client this week, and she's just an amazing person and has like this incredible awareness, and yet she was in this stuckness, this back and forthness, and I found myself wanting to fix it and wanting to help her and really wrapping my round, and I really got pulled into it. And then all of a sudden I realized I had to step into my awareness. Why? Awareness has no preferences. It didn't really matter what decision she made. It mattered whether or not she reconnected and brought herself into the light of her higher consciousness. And my job was to sit back and hold that for her and to watch that happen. Such a privilege, such a gift to be able to do that. So what is this light? You know, what is this light? You know, in the story, you know, Lahiri, you know, showed Yogananda, showed Mukunda and his mother the power of faith, the power of this light that's always here, it's always available, we just have to draw ourselves into it. That this light is the light of comfort, it's the light of healing, it's the light of faith. And soon after this happened, Yogananda was still a boy, maybe a little bit over 8, and he was in his Gopara Road home in Calcutta, and he was sitting on his bed, and he asked a really, really important question. What is behind the darkness of closed eyes? What is behind the darkness when we close our eyes in meditation? And he got an instant, an incredible, immense flash of light came to him, and these divine shapes of all these saints came, and he saw the silhouettes, and he was like sitting in meditation. They were sitting in these mountain caves, and he saw that they were meditating for everybody, for all of us. And he asked the question, who are you? And learned we're the Himalayan yogis. and how they were centuries. They're holding this energy. They're right here now. They're right here, always holding us, drawing us up, helping us to raise our consciousness, to raise our frequency so that we can rise above the craziness of this world, the craziness of duality, the Maya delusion. Who are you, he asked. I am the light. I am Iswara. What is this wonderful glow? And he understood that this light, this healing, comfortive, transformative light, I am Ishwara, I am light. And he knew and he gained from this experiment this permanent inspiration to seek God. And that's what that light gives us. This desire to know that nothing works here, that all the problems and difficulties in this world, one thing we have to do, we have to rise up and meet God. You know, over 20 years ago, there was this experiment where 4,000 people came to Washington because it had the highest crime rate in the United States. And they decided, these 4,000 meditators, that they were going to go to Washington on this experiment to reduce the crime rate. And they thought, maybe 20% we can do this. We're going to give it our whole thing. And they held mantras. They held love in their hearts. They held a space for everybody there. They had this incredible, pure intention to bring the light to this place of darkness. And they said, we came here to do this experiment to show that meditation can profoundly influence the world. And what happened through their dedication and their meditation? You know, the captain of the police station said, no way are you going to reduce crime rate by that percentage. No way, unless it's a nor'easter and it's July, that's not going to happen. And yet it exceeded expectations above that 20% and kept rising. I have this vision that we, like those Himalayan monks, like those Himalayan yogis, can sit together in meditation and rise above what's happening in the world right now. The prejudices, the fears, the disease, to raise our consciousness to the truth of what's really trying to happen here. We have a choice to go into the darkness or to bring our consciousness into that transformative, redeeming light. This time of discrimination and disease and fear and people getting sick and being so scared and lost. But if we sit in our meditation with those Himalayan yogis, with all the great masters of self-realization, we can change the consciousness of this earth, and we can bring the people and ourselves out of the darkness into the redeeming light.